Hi, second graders. I'm so happy to meet you. My name is Mrs. Tilsher. If I were to come into your classroom, you'd call me Mrs. T. Normally, during the school year, I will come into second grade classes for my presentations, which are called Kidz Toolbox for Personal Safety. And on a normal school year, I would be in your classroom doing 2 45-minute lessons. But since you're not in your normal classroom, I'm coming to you online to have more than 2 lessons so you can watch them together, or you can separate them into different days. You might remember me from kindergarten because I was in most of your kindergarten classes. And if you don't remember me, you might remember my friend Stanley. Remember him from kindergarten personal safety class? So the class again is called Kidz Toolbox for Personal Safety. And what my job is to do is to come in and give presentations to second graders on how to help you learn to keep yourself safe. Kidz Toolbox for Personal Safety. I'm going to give you some tools. So let's start off with a question for you. I know that you don't get to interact with me, but I'm going to give you a little break so that you can answer it and you can just say it out loud at your own computer. So here we go. Here's my question. Who is it in your life that protects you and keeps you safe? Let's start with at home. Who keeps you safe at your home? All right, say it. All right, this is my guess. Raise your hand if you said your mom. And your dad? Grandmas and grandpas? Brothers and sisters? You also may be the protector of a younger brother and sister. Some of you may have said your dogs at home. And sometimes second graders even say like cats and hamsters. But it's supposed to be whoever protects you and keeps you safe at home. What about at school on a normal school day when you're going to your regular school? Go ahead and say it. I know you all said your teacher. What about the principal? Yeah, that person keeps you safe. Other staff at the school, like the office staff, the yard duty teachers, other teachers, and maybe you might have said your friends. That's who keeps you safe at school. What about in the community you live in? Who are some people who have the job of actually keeping us safe? Here's a hint. Large red truck, siren at the top, woo, woo, woo. You got it, firefighters. What about a black and white car with a siren at the top? You got that one. Police officers, or we can say the sheriff's department. So those guys keep us safe. Who else in the community might keep you safe? Well, who do you go to when you don't feel good? The doctor's office. So doctors and nurses keep us safe. Who else would you say keeps you safe in the community? Second graders have the best answers ever. So let me give you an example of some second grade answers that I've heard before. Some people say their neighbors keep them safe. Maybe some of you do, maybe some of you don't. What about a person who sits on a tall chair at the swimming pool or the beach and watches the swimmers? Yeah, a lifeguard. What about a person who might watch you if your mom and dad go out for dinner somewhere? Your babysitter. Yeah, there's a lot of community people who keep us safe. Anyone else you can think of? I know second graders have a lot of answers. Some of you may be thinking military, yeah, or SWAT team, or librarian somewhere, or maybe someone who keeps you safe might be your mom and dad's friends. That would be a good one if you hang out with them. Maybe some of you may even say God and Jesus keep you safe. Those are all great answers and all the right answers. But in case you haven't said this one yet, this is a tricky one. There's one person that's with you every single second of your life, and they always protect you and keep you safe. It's tricky. Some of you may have gotten it. Think of it. It's not one of the answers I said or you said. Who's with you every single second of your life and keeps you safe? You ready for it? Drum roll. It's yourself. You protect yourself all the time. You're a very important person to protect yourself. And right, you're with yourself every single second. So we have a lot of people that protect us and keep us safe in our life. But how does a second grader already protecting himself? Well, even though I don't get to see you, raise your hand if you're a 7. 7.5, 8, 8.5, 9. All right, I'm going to say that you're between the range of 7 and 9 years old. So how does a 7 and 9-year-old already protect themselves? Well, let's talk about it. If you, after school, there's a whole bunch of moms and dads in the parking lot that are waiting to pick their kids up, a lot of cars out there, would you walk in the street to get to your parents? No. You know you don't want to get hit by a car, so you protect yourself. What if at the recess playground someone's on the swing? Do you walk right in front of it? Nope. You know that you're going to get kicked if you walk in front of it, so you walk around it to protect yourself. Let me think of some other protective situations. What about if a lady was walking down the street with a big, beautiful dog on a leash? You really wanted to pet it. Would you run up and hug the dog's neck? No, of course you wouldn't, because you don't want to get bit. Because even friendly dogs get scared when someone wants to hug their neck. So you would probably ask, may I pet your dog? Sniff, sniff, sniff. Then you can pet the dog, right? If it's friendly. What about in the kitchen? Your mom and dad are cooking in the kitchen, or grandma and grandpa. The flame is underneath the pot. Maybe there's a big pot with boiling water for spaghetti noodles. Would you, in 2nd grade, walk in and touch a hot pot on the stove? Of course not. Because when you were a little bitty toddler, you walked in the kitchen and your mom already let you know those pans are hot. And what can happen? Yeah, they can burn you. So there's a lot of ways that 2nd graders are already protecting themselves. So let's talk about some personal safety, all right? I want to start with this poster right here. You might remember this poster from when you were a kindergartner. And I don't bring it back to talk all about safety in the car, but I want to talk about a couple things that are important for 2nd graders to know, okay? So very briefly, we'll go over the moms in the front seat, safest place for kids, including 2nd graders, the back seat, right? That's pretty easy to know. You know by now, everyone has to wear a seatbelt. It's the law. What happens if someone in the car is not wearing a seatbelt? The driver gets a ticket from a police officer. It's a pretty big ticket. Not like a big ticket. It's more like a regular size ticket with a big price tag on it. We want to be buckled in. So we're buckling up before the car is moving. Our safest place is the back seat. Everyone in the car, no matter what the age or size, has to buckle up. It's the law. But the reason I bring this poster back for you is because I want to make sure you know the law on car seats. So you need to be in a booster or a car seat, okay? And this is the law on that. The law is you must be in a booster or car seat until you've turned 8 or older. Then once you're 8 and older, you can be out of your regular car seat in the seat, or 4 feet 9 inches tall, which is pretty tall. So my idea is to tell you to have your parents take a tape measure and measure you to see if you're up to the 4 feet 9. Because even if you're over 8 years old and you can be out of your regular seat, you want to make sure you're 4 feet 9. And then I'm going to tell you why. So take your tape measure out, pull it up, and you're going to get all the way to 4 feet 9, which quite honestly is almost, look, it's above the thing here. It's almost as tall as I am. I'm 5 feet 5 inches tall. This is going to be 4'9". So it's pretty tall. So make sure your parents measure you. If you're 7 and you happen to be over the 4 feet 9, you could be out of your car seat. But honestly, I haven't met someone that tall in 2nd grade yet. But have your parents measure you, okay? So the other reason I want to let you know about the 4 feet 9 is, let's say you are 8 and you can be out of your car seat. You don't want to be up front next to mom and dad in the passenger seat until you reach that 4 feet 9. Here's why it's so important. Let's say you're looking from the back seat to the front of your car and you see the big window, right? It's called the windshield. Then underneath that, where the radio and stuff is, that's called the dash. Inside the dash are airbags. So if you're sitting up front and your mom and dad are driving and the car hits something or your parents hit something, smash, the airbags come out, poof, really suddenly out of the dash to protect you. But if you're under the 4 feet 9, then they're going to cover your nose and mouth and you can't breathe. So it's really important for you to know. So my height and your mom and dad's height, if the airbags came out, poof, they're going to protect me by coming right here in front of me like a big marshmallow, but I can still breathe. But if you're under 4 feet 9, it comes out, covers your whole face, comes out very forcefully like a punch, and you cannot breathe. So super important for you to know, if you're over 8 years old, you must be 4 feet 9 or taller. You know what I like to say? My rule is I like to say you should wait till you're 12 to be up front, because it's the safest place for you to be in the back seat. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to show you that poster. Another thing I want to tell you is this is not a law yet, but I love this. They have now decided we should probably protect our dogs in the car. So these are dog harnesses, kind of like a dog seatbelt. It's not the law, but isn't it a good idea? Because imagine your dog's in the car, your mom has to suddenly stop the car, and your dog goes flying. When they land, they're hurt. And you know what? I'm pretty sure dogs aren't supposed to fly, just like kids aren't supposed to fly in the car. So they make these harnesses in all sizes. How cute is that, really? And so you can have your dog belted in. Here's a couple more pictures just to show you. This one is a very large dog that has his harness on, and this guy is actually in his own car seat. See him hooked in right there? They're making dog car seats. I love it. It's great for safety. So super important for you to know the law on wearing your seatbelt and the law on car seats. It used to be that it was a height and a weight, but that's no longer the rule. As of a couple of years ago in January, the rule is 8 years old or 4 feet 9 before you're out of your car seat or booster and in a regular seat. Now let's say that you're 8 years old and your mom wants you to stay in a car seat. Totally cool. You can see better out the window. You feel safe and comfortable. You can stay in if you want to, but that's the law, just to let you know. All right? So, awesome job. Thank you so much for paying attention to that. Let's talk about this poster right here. All right. So this is a poster of a boy named Dominic and his friend Molly. Do you see that she's looking into his backpack? Check out this story. Dominic was over at his grandpa's house one afternoon. His grandpa had been in a war, so he was a war veteran, and he had a lot of souvenirs in his room. So his grandpa stepped out, and Dominic kept looking at all the cool items, and then he laid on the floor, looked under the bed, and guess what he saw? A gun. He laid his hand on it, gently slid it out along the floor, picked it up, and decided, oh, this is so cool. I'm going to take it and show my friends at school, and then I'll bring it back. So I wanted to talk to you about gun safety. Super important for you to know. Now, we're going to talk about what you should do if you were to ever find a gun, but I want to tell you the law on a gun. You can own a gun after you're 18 years old and you have a license to own one. So you may know grown-ups, even your parents who own one, but you must be 18 years old and have a license, and you should really be very well trained after you have a license. But what if you're a kid and you find one? Now, it's not going to be easy to find one. You're not going to find it laying on the pantry shelf, right? But sometimes parents who don't realize that a gun should be locked in a gun safe with a combination or a key that you don't have, and they just hide them maybe at the back of a drawer, or maybe they're going to hide them on a shelf or in a shoebox. And you know what? Sometimes kids find them. So let's talk about what you should do if you're one of the ones that happen to find a real gun. Let me ask you, what do you think you should do if you happen to find a real gun, either at your house or someone else's house? Think about it for a minute. What do you think you should do? If you said don't touch it, awesome. We never touch a gun because you know what? We're not trained. So we never touch a gun. What's the next thing we do though? Think about it. Yes, we tell a grown-up right away. Now, if we were to find a gun, I don't want you bringing the gun to your parents to show them. I want you to run and get a grown-up and bring them back to where you found the gun. So we're not touching a gun. We're not going to pick it up and see if we look cool in a mirror with it. We're not going to see how much it weighs. We're not going to call our friends, come over and check out what I found. Because you know what? Every year in our country, there's a statistic. A lot of people who are untrained to use guns, including children, shoot themselves accidentally. So we don't want you to be one of those, all right? So here's the rules on a gun. We leave it where it is. We immediately get a grown-up. We bring them in and show them the gun so they can decide what to do. If you're at a friend's house and you find a gun, you tell the grown-up there, and then when you get home, you tell your own parent or grandparent because you need to be playing in a safe home. Super, super important. That's the rule on a gun, okay? Another thing I wanted to ask you. See how he has it in his backpack to show his friends at school? See anything wrong with that? Yeah. You are not allowed to bring weapons of any kind to school. Can't bring them to elementary school, right? Can you bring them to junior high? No. High school? No. College? No. There is no school campus that allows a gun or any kind of weapon to be brought on the campus. So if you were to bring something like that to school, you'd be in a lot of trouble. Really important for you to know. Not only do they don't want a gun with bullets, they don't want any kind. You can't bring an airsoft gun or a BB gun, even a Nerf gun or a water gun. No guns allowed on campus. Before I leave the subject though, I want to tell you about a different kind of gun, okay? If you might have at your house a BB gun or an airsoft gun, you want to make sure that you know how to use it with your parents showing you, and use it only with your parents. But if you're not sure and you see it and you think, wow, that looks like a real gun, we follow the same rules. We leave it exactly where we found it. We go get a grown-up and bring them back to where we found it, because we don't want to use any kind of a gun that we're not trained. And I like to say, if you're a second grader and have a BB or a pellet or an airsoft gun, only use it under the supervision with parents, to make sure you have your goggles on too, okay? Super important. So if we ever found a gun in our life, we leave it exactly where it is. We bring a grown-up to the gun right away, all right? That's gun safety. Super important for you to know. The other thing is that a gun should be locked in a safe. So on a paper that's going to be written up for your parents, it's going to give them all this information. So in case your parents aren't sitting with you right now, we're going to give all the information Mrs. T is telling you to your parents in a letter, so they'll also know the laws on these kind of things. All right? Super important. Good job. You can also tell your parents anything you've learned from Mrs. T along the way, because it's really great to hear something and then try to teach someone else. It's really important.